There will be a reckoning this week for Donald Trump's now officially confirmed pick as Attorney General, Todd Blanche. And that reckoning will be in the form of a hearing in a case brought by a MeidasTouch host, Katie Phang, in connection with the Epstein Transparency Act, where Katie Phang has sued the DOJ and Todd Blanche to release the files. A federal judge has now called out the now Attorney General for violating a court order, which in any normal time would be probably impeachable grounds. Now the person has been confirmed, disqualifying grounds to begin with at the outset. But we've talked through what this judge has ordered. You haven't given any justifications of redactions where you seem, Todd Blanche, to be redacting the names of the perpetrators, of co-conspirators, because they claim they're victims. So because their powerful lawyers, these rich men's powerful lawyers, claim that they're victims, they're using that as a shield to hide their names. What about the FBI 302 notes, Todd Blanche? What's going on there? You are claiming that you're not turning over the notes regarding certain allegations against Donald Trump by an underage girl that the FBI investigated, which Trump denies, because the notes are substantially similar to the 302 report. So you've invented your own exception. And also, where's your privilege log, Todd Blanche? Where is it? You are supposed to, under the Epstein Transparency Act, produce a detailed redaction and privilege log regarding the millions of documents that are being withheld. I want a timeline. So now you have a situation, not the acting AG, where the AG is going to be there or has been ordered to answer these questions, because he signs his name to all of these things too. It's incredibly odd that the AG, that the person at the top, even as acting AG, even deputy AG, even deputy, it's not at that level. But because Trump runs the DOJ now like a rinky-dinky, crappy law firm that has a crappy reputation, this is what it is at this point. So what happened on Friday? On Friday, you had Bill Spineless Cassidy, and all these people are so spineless. Tom Spineless Tillis, John Spineless Cornyn. These three people who Trump destroyed their careers, demonstrated the spaghetti of human beings that they are. Zero spine. It's unbelievable. They're so worried about what job they're going to get next after they leave the Senate that despite Trump destroying their political careers, they vote for a guy that they know is clearly unqualified, that violated the criteria that they set for him. Meet with the Epstein survivors and answer their questions. I'll meet with the Epstein survivors, says Blanche, and I'll torment them and torture them and cause them more PTSD. Okay, you did what we told you to do. And the Epstein survivors are like, what the hell? We didn't ask him to, we wanted him to listen, not cause us more distress. Well, he met with you. So we checked that box. Todd Blanche, we want you to put in writing that the settlement agreement between Donald Trump and the government is voided. Yeah, what if I did an order that temporarily voids the anti-weaponization fund? Meanwhile, we'll let all the January 6th insurrectionists fill out government tort claims and just file lawsuits against the government. We'll just say temporarily we're getting rid of the anti-weaponization fund, and we will promote Donald Trump getting tax immunity and his family getting tax immunity and his companies getting tax immunity, where they don't have to pay taxes from the date of the settlement going back, because they can't be prosecuted for any criminal activity regarding non-payment of taxes. The settlement agreement was signed May 18th and May 19th. Tax day was April. So if Donald Trump just didn't pay all the taxes for all of that money he made with those quid pro quo deals, he gets away with it. And those Republican senators like, yeah, good job. So we were waiting on Friday for Bill Cassidy, the MAGA Republican senator from Louisiana. He's a doctor. He was the key vote that let RFK come in, literally destroyed the guy's lifelong profession as a doctor. Great work there. And so he had to come up with his reason, right? You had Tillis and Cornyn. They came up with their justifications and total bullshit. Excuse my language. But Cassidy said, I consulted the Oracle of Delphi. No, he said, I consulted Bill Barr Of course, famous Bill Barr. We all know Bill Barr, notable for his candor, his truth, his ethical behavior. Bill Barr. And Bill Barr told me, yeah, he may not be great, but he's better than what may come in the future. He may be, everybody has their ethical issues. And so don't be too concerned with it. And Bill Cassidy goes, after consulting with Barr, I have made my decision. I will agree to bring him in. And all this stuff was put in motion before. It's all so corrupt. Murkowski and Collins, they voted no. But they voted no so they could try to go to their voters in the election. See, we voted no, but it was all lined up where Cassidy was going to meet with Barr, and then he was going to say this, and Tillis was going to say that. And then, by the way, Tillis and Cassidy and Cornyn, they all had the audacity to say, what else could we have done? What else could we have done to stop this? Stop this. That's literally what your role is as a senator. I want to bring in Harry. You could vote against him. You think you realize there's actually a thing that you could do, you spineless freaking loser cowards? Let's bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds podcast and such. Harry, you listen to these people and you're like, okay, this is exactly how we got here. These people who rather be part of their country clubs or whatever and have their own personal lifestyles that they want. Weird lifestyle. Do you know Tom Tillis lived with Mitch McConnell? Kind of a weird thing to do. Dude lived with the weirdos. Why are you living with Mitch McConnell in D.C.? Just a personal observation as well. Just think about it. You're a United States senator. You rise through these ranks. You want to live in Mitch McConnell's home with the guy? I don't know. There's some weirdo stuff going on there, but that's for another hot take. Harry, what do you make of this all?
It's spineless freaking losing cowards, and much, much worse. Look, this is the worst this maybe the worst confirmation vote in the nation's history, and here's why. This guy has a record. It's been proven beyond any doubt. When Cassidy rolled the dice on RFK Jr. and how well did that come out, or Hegseth or Patel, they could maybe pretend that they'll, step up to the professional role when it happens. What they did here wasn't about confirmation. It was ratification. And ratification of what? An entire chain of conduct that is as antithetical to everything the Department of Justice is supposed to stand for, that it just goes to the marrow of the place. The notion, we know what Bill Barr told Cassidy, because he wrote it up in an influential in those circles op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and it was very much like that. Better than what else could come, and B, he'll push back against Trump. As to A, it's so infuriating. Yeah, okay, so he's a murderer, but the trains will run on time. Barr doesn't even mention what I think will go down in history as the cardinal sin of any attorney general, which Blanche has not only presided over, but championed. Come out of the box and said, Donald Trump has the right to bring criminal charges against political enemies who have done nothing wrong with no basis or in fact or law. You just can't imagine any more foul, not to mention unconstitutional, but just foul, complete degradation of what a Department of Justice is supposed to be about. On this second argument, by the way, you hear whispers of this. Blanche pushes back. That's a total load of shit, and we now know it, and we saw it in as Trump let him twist in the wind for his confirmation and wanting to preserve. And as you say, he has preserved it. There's nothing that Cornyn and Tillis asked for that changes the legal status of that fund at all. Cornyn himself asked Blanche in the confirmation, isn't this a enforceable contract? Cornyn, a former judge, and doesn't it have to be amended only by the writing of the parties? S. And you're damn right it is. And that means Donald Trump, nothing they did got there, even at all. But as this was going on, he was ready to cut Blanche loose, or so it seemed. He certainly wasn't the guy who was taking Blanche. Blanche was diminished during this process, even though he now winds up atop. Because it's clear that, he's dispensable as anybody is for Donald Trump, especially if they get between him and public money that he could rapaciously get his mitts on. But, the notion, so it's wrong on the facts, but the notion that, well, he's been in AUSA, or maybe he knows where the trains run next to I don't know if they're Adam Sandler fans out there, but he's got this great song where he goes, he's a nice neighbor. He'll take in your laundry. He'll take in your paper for you. Oh, but there's a little problem. This problem is MEIDA. This is a guy who they are ratifying the record of absolute, abject, complete, antithetical to the Constitution, aberration and complete perversion of the DOJ mission. And that a guy, knowing that, I don't care if there's nobody else out there, put some acting person in, but the last thing you want to do is ratify what you know to be this deep perversion and corruption of the mission of the Department of Justice. And that is absolutely what they did. They had him, they had the record. And by the way, now, 2.5 years to go, where Trump will go after anything he wants and be completely abetted by Todd Blanche. What kind of damage will that do? I think it's incommensurable. But leave that aside. Blanche is a guy who has been out there completely crapping all over everything DOJ stands for, to the disgust of anyone who worked there. And Cassidy is saying, oh, but I think he'll be better than what could follow. You can't be worse, for starters. And this is not about who else it could be at this point. This is about, do you go thumbs up, U.S. Senate, on what this acting attorney general has done? Really, this should have been 100-0 to reject him. It was an absolute crystalline case that this guy has proven himself not qualified in the least way to be the attorney general. And the fact that he knows his way around and actually has been in AUSA makes it worse, because he knows exactly the norms, laws, and constitutional precepts that he is absolutely prepared to violate in order to suck up to Donald Trump, be his personal attorney and not the people's attorney. This is really a travesty, and it was pusillanimous of Tillis and Cornyn, and in a different way of Cassidy to try to defend their votes.
Well, now we'll see Meidas host Katie Phang in court with him. Yeah. She'll be in court there on Wednesday. As a federal judge, Judge Sullivan said, why are you violating my order, man? Yeah. Pretty clear what I asked for. This category, that category, this category. I want answers. And, the redaction log, you and I both know the DOJ did not prepare a redaction log.
Period.
And the judge wants to know, I want a timeline of when you're going to do that. And that is going to now require a lot of DOJ resources. I mean, we're talking about 5 to 8 million documents, multiple page documents. They're going to actually have to be diligent and go through each one and explain the redactions, to each. And that's a big deal too. And, now you have the AG who's involved in the strange times in history. But I want to also give a shout out to Katie Phang. And I wanted to talk about it in this video because people often ask what we could do, right? And we see these cowardly senators behaving like spaghetti, cowardly senators. I like spaghetti, but the point is they have no spines. And I've been using that example, whether it makes sense.
You don't want to confirming a cabinet nominee stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But here you have ways to fight back, and we have the power, and we shouldn't accept this. And that's why we're going to keep building these platforms like MeidasTouch, like Talking Feds. So everybody subscribe to Talking Feds on YouTube, search Talking Feds. When you see a Harry Litman video, put in the comments, that Ben says hello. And you could even say WTF America, which is the new book I wrote with my brothers, which you can pre-order now. You can Google WTF America by Ben, Brett, and Jordy Meiselas. Pre-order it. And then on Harry's comments, say, Harry, WTF America. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben, and you Midas Mighty.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.